All right, I am so excited to welcome Santa to the show today. Santa Scott Knox. Hi, Scott. How are you? Thank you for joining me on Bourbon Street.
You're most welcome. It's very exciting to be involved.
I have a trick question for you.
Oh, God.
Yes. Do you remember what you did to me the first time we met?
Oh, I remember us getting into a heated discussion on the value of the ICA in a bar restaurant in the Keg, actually,
Right.
on Young Street. Yes. What did I do to you? I don't know. What did I do? Do I need to start apologizing right now again?
You put me over your knee in front of 15 industry professionals and you spanked me.
I beg your pardon.
You did. It was a good-natured spank. And notice I didn't bring this up in the rehearsals because I did not.
Okay, no, you didn't. Thanks for dropping that one on me.
Call Tim Follis. I have witnesses.
I'll sue every one of you.
Yes. So, speaking of spanking, Twitter tells me you're in a little bit of a fight these days. Talk to me about Scott and PNP.
Yeah, so Portable North Pole is this. It's fantastic. I first subscribed to it when we adopted our kids 10 years ago, and it's a way of getting the kids a video message from Santa, and you can get it to time sending you telephone calls and goodness knows what. Well, anyway, this year I went in to use the system and set up the video messages for the kids. And actually, a couple of years ago, I actually sent them out to the industry using the same platform because I have this long-term subscription, and I can't get in. And I've emailed and I've emailed and I've emailed and I just can't get in, can't get to my. And so eventually took to Twitter, which I don't often do from a customer service point of view. And they keep trying to get me, as anybody will do, trying to get me off of Twitter and talk to them in direct messages so that the public don't continue to see the harassment.
Right.
But I haven't. I've kept in Twitter because I want something done, frankly. But yeah, even to this morning, they sent me saying, no, we have no record of your account. Your email doesn't exist. Perhaps you've made a mistake. And I've said, well, here's the receipt for the purchase, ladies and gentlemen. Get it sorted. And by the way, the Christmas clock's counting down. Right. So let's get some hurry on this, people. Yeah, so just really poor customer services, no connection, just, really monosyllabic responses. It's just like, no, missed opportunity here, people.
And so take me forward to December 17th. Have they solved it yet?
No. As of this morning, they're still saying I've not got an account. And so I'm like, well, here's the receipt. You sent it to me. You sent it to this email address. Get this sorted, people. And I'm waiting for a response. But I'm not going to let this one drop. If I have to contact Santa on the sleigh on the 24th, I'm going to be there in his face.
Well, listen, with this new variant around us, let's just hope the holidays happen. Lots of changes. We're going to kick off Weekly Pulse with a quick video and then have a conversation about new capacity limits.
When it feels like we kind of have it under control, it's never really under control. And, I just think that we got to continue to try to stay safe as much as possible.
Fans being able to watch sports in person only came back to full capacity just over a month ago in most provinces. But with COVID cases rising at a drastic rate, effective this Saturday, Ontario is introducing capacity limits of 50% in indoor sports venues with an indoor capacity of greater than 1,000 people, while provinces like Alberta are easing some of their restrictions.
At this point, given what we know about the Omicron virus, which is very transmissible, I think that our recommendation is don't have mass gatherings.
Already this week, we saw 3 NHL games and 2 NBA games canceled because of COVID-19 outbreaks. For City News, I'm Lindsay Dunn.
Last night's Montreal Canadian game was played with no fans. The Toronto Auto Show has been canceled. I think the Montreal Auto Show board is meeting today about it. Quick thoughts from you on what's happening out there.
Yeah, this is just bad management. I mean, if a lowly person from our industry attends their WHO briefings on a regular basis, then actually the mistake here is that we went back up to full capacity, which causes disruption for businesses and venues. We've always known that the virus is the problem, people are the solution. And, nothing has changed. We've also known that we swing in and out of 3 to 4 months peaks and troughs of this virus. And so we knew this was coming. So, to cause this for government, both from an Ontario and a federal perspective, but this is going across the world, mixed messaging, jumping back and forth, giving confidence that we're out of the woods and then jumping back again is really what's causing the fatigue here. So I'm very much with these venues and the people involved with these industries, because it's the chopping and changing that's causing the real disruption. We've known what we needed to do. We knew that it was risky going back to full capacity months ago. And so, this disruption, I blame firmly the politicians. And if I know what WHO and other healthcare professionals are telling us, then they bloody know. And so this is inexcusable. And causing this disruption of in and out is just not on.
The Montreal Canadiens game was, the fan cancellation or banning fans was announced 2 hours before the game. My bigger issue, which is, imagine you've driven in, you've flown in, you've bought tickets, you've got restaurant reservations, you've got babysitters, it's somebody's birthday. My bigger challenge with this, I'm listening to our premier, who I don't think any level of government's done a great job. And he's talking about, we're going to bring all of our weapons, all of our force with this. I have a series of issues. One is, I don't think they have enough data. So I know the cases are going up, but I want to understand how lethal it is. Number two, I feel like, why don't we have a regular transnational briefing with all the premiers and the prime minister every week and just declare things? And so Alberta's loosening, Ontario's listening, people are worried about travel, service industries, experience-based industries. How do we staff? How do we plan? We were working with some clients on the auto show. But what also really galls me is, Scott, we're a couple months away from being 2 years into this thing. Where are the new hospital beds? Where are the new accelerated trained hospital support people? Maybe you can't become a nurse in 2 years. Maybe you can. But I bet you can learn how to triage in 2 years. I bet you can learn how to help do vaccines. Where are all the other things that are supposed to be happening here? And to your point, the lack of certainty. And then I will say to you, I personally think that, again, the government looks to these big things that they want to go after. But you know what? People need to be vaccinated. And the fact that it takes only for them to accelerate the booster rollout, and I feel horrible for countries that haven't had their first vaccines. But at the end of the day, it always seems like we bring a club, we hammer the experience economy, and everything else is left to confusion. I had somebody asking me this morning, we're not sure if we can go to Barbados tomorrow, right? I don't know. Can they go to Barbados? Can they get back in?
The medical advice has been the same from day one. I remember attending my first briefing at the end of February in 2020.
Okay.
And it was really, really clear then that this, even if we have a vaccine, and we were months away from even having first signs of vaccine, this is going to be a people action situation. We needed people to mask up. We needed physical distancing in place. We needed test and trace to be at absolute peak performance.
Right.
But also, to your point about hospitals, and if I was being told this, and this is for business leaders, this briefing, if I was being told that what we needed to do was put pressure on our healthcare providers and federal and provincial governments to ensure that they segmented the healthcare services, in the sense that you have a hospital that will be dealing with, or a space for COVID, and the rest you keep maintaining your healthcare and your bottom line healthcare. This was told to governments across the world in February 2020.
Wow.
The fact that we find ourselves in a position where there are hospitals delaying procedures, that shouldn't be happening. We should have had people trained. But actually, I'd also go back to the general public. The general public are being duped because politicians want to ensure they get votes. So they want to show that they are winning against the virus. I can tell you that the WHO line currently is the virus is winning. And if that's the case, we have to start taking action and ignoring our politicians, frankly.
And on top of that, and you talk about the healthcare system, there are so many people who are delaying going to hospitals. So now oncologists are seeing people with cancer that they should have seen months earlier.
Absolutely.
There was a statistic we shared on the show the other week that 26,000 Canadians have died of COVID, but Health Canada estimates that another 19,000 have died due to healthcare delays caused by COVID. I was misdiagnosed with SARS. When I was in the ambulance, I was being taken to St. Mike's because it was the SARS hospital. And I do remember arguing with them. I don't want to go into this, but they thought I had SARS. But to your point, Sunnybrook was not a SARS hospital. So, the game plan is a mess. And to you hit the bottom line. It's all about votes. So
completely in every country. And I look very sadly back to my former home country and the mess, the despicable mess that the Johnson administration is delivering in the UK, when they're now topping 90,000 new cases a day, most of which, certainly for central London, are Omicron, is just disgraceful. I mean, they knew what they needed to do. It wasn't difficult to implement nor understand. And so for G7 nations to be behind the curveball, the 8 ball on this one is shame on them.
Maybe
shame on them.
The G8 are behind the 8 ball. That would be a better pun.
Yeah.
Go. Well, you know what? We're going to go into sponsored backs on Bourbon Street, and I'm really excited because we're going to do a bunch of stuff around holiday ads. But before we get there, we have to deal with this sticky, ugly mess of Peloton and the Sex and the City remake and, allegations resurfacing. So we all know, and I did not watch it, that, Mr. Big died. And then magically the agency for Peloton, led by Ryan Reynolds, created an ad in 48 hours. And then Mr. Big lives. And now Mr. Big's ad's been pulled due to sexual assault allegations. I mean, this thing just gets uglier and woven in all this. So you run the advocacy organization for the leading agencies in Canada. You have your pulse on the communications world. What is the industry talking about right now or this week about this entire mess?
Yeah, so there are two things here. And I think I'll jump to the North issue. In 1995, Beverly Johnson, actually his former partner, declared that he was beating her in a relationship, and that was ignored. And so here we are yet again with the situation of a powerful white male being allowed to continue in a profession when actually we were all alarmed and warned about it before. So, the fact that the producers of these programs continued with Chris is absolutely despicable, on their own heads be it. The thing that I am really concerned about from a pure industry perspective is, and those of you who follow Jay Cheney on LinkedIn will see he brought this up earlier in the week. The fact that it was announced and various industry practitioners were, 48 hours to turn this round. That is just bullshit. The fact that Peloton was mentioned 8 times in a single episode of the new Sex and the City reboot means this was paid for content.
No kidding.
And it was all planned.
They didn't know he was going to die.
Yeah, they knew. And to turn around this ad, and really, it's not really this ad or Peloton that I could give a damn about. What I do care about is this inference that we're getting to that agencies should be able to turn around their most effective, creative and strategic work in shorter and shorter time frames. Our people are already burnt out, and creativity does not exist in short-termism. Effectiveness happens in long-term strategic building. And if you look at the Effie Awards, and I know that's a shout out, but in any of the 54 countries around the world, it is long-term strategic brand building that gives us what we need. And even our first ever effectiveness report that we published with Peter Field this year showed, and we were the first country to prove this, that actually those brands who stuck to brand strategy during the pandemic fared better in terms of effectiveness than those who diverted into COVID-related communications.
Stick with it.
So the bottom line is long-term strategy. This notion that you'll turn around production in the drop of a hat is absolute horseshit. So I've done horseshit and bullshit in one conversation. We've got plenty of shit going down here.
Horseshit, Santa. But I find it a little disingenuous for Ryan Reynolds to talk about this amazing turnaround. Meanwhile, where's he off this weekend on his yacht? He's got luxuries and assets that might allow him to work hard.
Phone books. So we know that he picked up the phone to talk to Chris Noth. What do we say about those friends you keep, Ryan Reynolds?
I hear you. Okay, so we're going to have some fun now. I asked you a simple question leading up to this week's Bourbon Street sponsored decks on Bourbon Street. I wanted you to share with us your favorite 3 holiday ads. So let's have a look at the first one, and then I want you to give me kind of the 30 seconds why on each. So we got a lot to go through. Let's go with Imbrew.
We're walking in the air. I'm sipping on an iron brew. My chilly snowman mate says he would like some too. Tell him get your own. He looks like he is going He nicked my iron brew and let go of my hand.
Is this a childhood memory for you?
In part, yeah. I remember when I was 12 in 1984. It was just a monumental year. Band-Aid came out. Do They Know It's Christmas? The Snowman was played before Top of the Pops that year when Band-Aid hit number one. And it is a big year for me. But really, I love this because, A, it comes from an agency in my proper birth country of Scotland, an agency called Leith. But it's a redo of what is a classic Oscar-nominated film.
Right.
Which is The Snowman. And I think the lyrics to it are just phenomenal. And it's so brilliant. And I think actually the reason I wanted to bring this is because we've seen a lot of chatter over the past few months about we need to bring humor back to marketing communications.
Yeah.
And I think here is a great example where you can, maybe we need to do less John Lewis-y, and maybe we need to bring some sparkle and humor back to communications. And, why not?
Why not? Okay, so now the next one you chose is from IKEA.
Bueno, vamos a escribir la carta a los Reyes Magos. ¿Sabéis ya lo que vais a pedir?
Sí, este año me he portado muy bien. Un juego. Una guitarra. Una Wii. Esto y esto. Un unicornio que huele punta con punta.
Estas las dejo aquí para mandárselas a los Reyes. Y ahora vais a escribir otra carta. Una carta a vuestros papás. ¿Qué les pediríais a vuestros papás esta Navidad?
¿Algo más? Sí.
Vuestras hijas han escrito una carta a los Reyes Magos y esta para vosotros.
Queridos papás,
quiero que estés más tiempo conmigo, que hagamos más experimentos en casa.
Me gustaría que nos hagáis un poco más de caso. Me gustaría que cenarais más con nosotros. Quiero que me hagáis cosquillas.
Y que les leamos un cuento. Quiero que estemos un día juntos.
No puedo.
Quiero jugar, mamá. Que juegues conmigo, vaqueros.
¿Quieres jugar más al fútbol conmigo?
¿Os sorprende que os pidan esto para Navidad?
Pues no, la verdad es que no nos sorprende. A mí no. Tienen demasiados juguetes siempre.
El sentimiento de tratar de sustituir, pues llenarles ese pequeño vacío con un juguete que les...
Pasar todo el tiempo que tenemos al máximo con nuestros hijos.
Pensar que tú quieres darles todo lo mejor y lo mejor eres tú.
Si lo está escribiendo es porque lo necesita, ¿no?
Si solo pudieras enviar una de las dos cartas, ¿cuál enviarías? ¿La de los Reyes Magos o la de papá y mamá?
Uy, es una pregunta muy difícil. La de mamá. La de mis padres, papá y mamá.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just, it's really resonant for me, particularly because it was in 2012 that this came out, and it was the same year that, actually, I think it was 2012, but it was near the time when we adopted our kids, and I'd started to get into those conversations with other parents about being the best parent you can be, and what that means, and how much it costs you, and all those conversations that happen, and what I love about this, and the reason I wanted to bring it today, was because also in the time of the pandemic, it's really important for us to understand that we need to look after each other and, importantly, look after ourselves. And we shouldn't be embarrassed to take that time and block that time out to do it. And I think that what I love about this is the fact of, the assumption that kids want all this stuff. I mean, let's not talk about the diversity here. I mean, you look at that picture there, that final shot, and you go, oh dear.
That's okay.
But
That's 2012.
putting that aside, it's really important that we understand that human connection is utterly vital. And, as we go through as managers, as family members, it's really important to remember it's not about, the throwaway of gifting and so on and so forth. Although I sit here and have that come out of my mouth now and go, yeah, let me turn around to the kids this year and say, oh, you won't have any presents. You just have a bigger hug from me. Oh, no, that ain't happening.
We know you're going to spoil your kids. Now, you made a little slag at John Lewis a minute ago, but the third ad you have us today is a John Lewis ad, so let's have a look-see.
Dreams are like angels, they keep at bay. Love is the light scaring darkness away. I'm so in love with you. Make love your goal. The power of love, a force from above, cleaning my soul. Flaming the desire, love with tongues of fire, purge the soul, make love your goal. Make love your goal.
Whoever buys the music for John Lewis, they seem to buy amazing tracks.
They do. And what is also really important here is this didn't take 48 hours. This was 12 months in the strategy, the creative, and the development of.
Well said.
And, the same within North America, looking at our Super Bowl communications. The greatest of work doesn't happen in 48 hours. So Ryan Reynolds, kiss my ass.
Okay, so we're going to go into last call here. And in last call, I want you to sit back for the next 4 minutes and watch something marvelous because there's a big, big message here. And this spot definitely was not produced in 48 hours.
Hva syns du om? Du må jo forsøke å tenke deg inn. Hei, bror. Hei. Slutt da.
Det kommer neste år. Jeg har mange pakker jeg må levere. Jeg kommer tilbake neste år.
Jo, alle hvor vi har vært en sånn, det drømmer.
Tenk på meg da. Jeg er fin. Men fin. Jeg kommer til å savne deg. Det er mange som venter på pakkene sine. En dag i året. Et år til.
kommet noen pakker til deg. God jul!
Jeg fikk tak i litt assistanse i år, så jeg kan være sammen med deg.
The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, I still watching that always gets me. And two things I just want to say. I think what's been said about the quality of this communication has been said already in various media across the world. But for me, I never thought in my lifetime as a gay man I would see something this in broadcast communications. I never ever did. And I think what I'd like to do, rather than focus on the ad, is to focus on the audience here and to people like you, Mark. And I would like to thank Canadians. I would like to thank the people that are watching today that have stood by and spoken up when homophobia is delivered spoken on members of my community, because without you and without your contributions, ads like this would never have seen light and day. And so whilst this is great, it's the human beings around the world that stand up for my community, the allies across the world. And so I thank you from the bottom of my heart and wish you a Merry, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
I can't say it any better. And have a great holiday. For all of you who support Bourbon Street, for Eric, Allison, James in the back end, thank you so much for all you do for the show and for me. I look forward to seeing everybody. Have a safe, happy holidays. Hope that you can get together with your family and loved ones. I love that ending. To all, from all.